Hi there, and welcome to this episode of Write With Me. We have a letter to go through and to plan and prepare for. The rubric here says, the parents of your Australian friend, Chris, have invited you to a surprise birthday party for him or her. I'm going to assume Chris is a name of, it's a male name, a name of a man. This is easier for me. IELTS says him or her because IELTS wants to observe gender neutrality. I understand that, but for the sake of this video, I prefer to refer to Chris as a male name. All right, so let me go through the question. The parents of your friend, like your friend's name is Chris. So you have a friend who is Australian, so he speaks English. And his name is Chris. His parents, again, they are also supposedly Australian. I don't care about the nationality. I'm saying it because you're dealing with a native English speaking couple. That's why I keep repeating that they are also Australian. And the parents of your friend Chris have initiated this conversation. They have already contacted you and sent you a letter, or called you, whatever, but they have already invited you to a surprise party. So they started the conversation. You are going to write this letter in response to another letter you have already received. They have invited you to a surprise party for their son. All right, so two people sent you a letter, or we don't know that, or they called you, whatever. Now it continues and says, write a letter to Chris's parents. You may have received a letter or a phone call or whatever, but your response should be a letter. Now there are 3 bullet points. First, say why you think Chris will enjoy the surprise party. So Chris doesn't know it's a surprise party. The Chris doesn't know. The Chris even doesn't know there's a party. The Chris doesn't know that his parents have invited you to be in the party. So knowing Chris, you're going to definitely feel how he will feel when he is in his surprise party, and he is definitely going to find out the surprise party, and it's going to be very, very fun for Chris. The next item, explain why you won't be able to attend the party. Aww, that's so bad. So you cannot go to the party. Then you need to come up with a reason for that. And finally, give details, plural details, of a plan to see Chris at a different time. We have the gist of the letter. First and foremost, we need to understand whether this is a formal or informal letter. Let's assume that Chris's parents contacted you already and they wrote a letter or email, whatever. Usually, it's not a completely formal letter, but your friend's parents are not very, they do not maintain a 100% informal tone either. But they have the right to be more informal with you than you are going to be informal with them. So the response you are going to give is also an informal letter, because It's no business, there's no job, there's no exchange of money, it's a favor. These are respectable parents, but parents of your friend. Well, so my suggestion is to maintain an informal tone, but remember that you are talking to somebody older than you are. So you still need to maintain levels of formality. I'm not going to ignore all, but my suggestion and the approach would be a tone that is mostly informal, but you still remain respectful and there are elements of formality in between. This combination must appear in all your sentences. You cannot say, I'm going to start informal, then my response is formal, and then in the end, I'm going to end it with some informal notes. No, this combination of being informal and respectful, being informal and respectful, being informal and respectful must be throughout this letter. You, of course, have your salutation. Now, 2 people contacted you. So we do not just write, Dear Chris's mom and dad. So that's not very, very polite, and it's not very common. So the best approach would be to write the letter to this couple as Dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You say their surname. You know your friend. You know his name is Chris Smith. I'm just coming up with names. You just start by saying, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Then we need to start our letter. Do not say sentences like, I am writing this letter, to inform you, blah, blah. Remember, this is a response. This is the second letter in this communication. So you are responding to someone. It's best in your very first sentence to acknowledge that you received this letter. Like, it's wonderful to hear from you. I'm so happy to be in contact with you. Thank you for sending me the letter of invitation, blah, blah. I hope this letter finds you well, and thank you for including me in your joy in the family. I hope everything is okay in Australia. You need to start by mentioning that you are happy to be in contact with these people. You are happy to have received their letters, or letter, or postcard, or invitation, or phone call, whatever it is. You are very happy to know that. I want you to start with a jolly, happy tone. We are going to say some bad news in between, right? The best approach, not just for IELTS, but in real life, is a technique called sandwich. We are going to put the bad news in the middle, but we are going to sandwich it between good vibe and another good vibe at the beginning and at the end. In other terms, they call it sugar coating. It has some negative connotations, but it's a technique nonetheless. So let's start making this a jolly, good, happy sentence. I want you to mention why you believe Chris is going to enjoy this party. I suggest one sentence. I don't want you to write anything, and I don't want your introduction to be so large. Because of that, I want you to mention that this is a wonderful opportunity for Chris. I'm sure Chris is going to be super happy. Say one reason, like Chris has worked very hard this semester on his proposal, on his thesis statement, on his term paper. Or if Chris is working, in the past couple of quarters, or in the past 2 seasons, Chris has dedicated his life, his time to making this line of business active and profitable. And that's one very good reason. Now we're going to get to the not so good part. I don't look forward to it, this personally, but you still have to be able to say the bad news. What's the bad news? Well, the bad news is I cannot come. Why? Say the reason. Uh, Speaking from experience, if you start saying multiple reasons, which is something you can do for this, it sounds like you're avoiding. You don't like to see Chris's parents, or you don't like Chris. If you just come up with, oh, you know what? No, I cannot come because I have to look after this, and I also have this exam in the next 6 months, and I have to be prepared. It's very difficult. It sounds like you are avoiding um, the party, and it sounds like you really don't like these people. So I personally don't recommend this, although this is, of course, okay. You can. Maybe you really don't like Chris or don't like his family, but that's not what I'm going to suggest here. Tell Chris's parents that if you show up, there will be problems. It can be only one problem. This is fine. Or there might be two problems for you in the future. You don't have to solve them. You just mention the problems. So you can say, if I come, I will face one or maybe two problems, and you can expand. Let's make an example. If I want to come, which I would very much love to, however, I will miss a job opportunity. And it's very, very important for me. If you just say one item. If you want to say two items, you need to say, I would really like to come, but I have already booked an exam and my IELTS exam. So I'm preparing for my test. And or you might say, I am waiting for some information, some valuable information, and from some authorities, they're going to check. And if I'm not at home, this process will, be prolonged for another 6 months. So you can say, I cannot leave my home. Mention something, one problem or two problems, why you cannot come to this beautiful surprise party. And then we are going to give details of a plan to see Chris at a different time. Okay. You need two approaches. If you cannot come up with proper sentences, and the number of vocabulary so far is like 70 words or 80 words, and if you're considering another 30, it will be 100, and that's bad because we need at least 150. My approach would be to introduce a new body paragraph. In the body paragraph, focus on what you are going to do instead. So you cannot come. Okay. What is the solution? You are going to say, instead, I am planning to do this. So I will not be able to physically be present at your party, but I have an idea. And then give details of that idea. Details means now I must ask you to go more than two, to write more than two details. Detail A, detail B, detail C. You can already see many details. I want you to, based on the number of words and also the time you have, be flexible, but either A and B or A and B and C, all of them. So this is going to be all about what you will do to compensate for your absence. And then close it. In the closing, make sure you express your gratitude. This is important. It's very important to say that I am happy that you are planning. I feel so great that Chris has got such parents. I'm so happy that you shared this joy with me. I'm happy to be part of your family. I'm super happy to have known Chris and your hospitality. I can't wait to meet you next year, next month, once my exam is over, and I will be able to see you later. But you still express your gratitude. I don't think you need any more than this, and you finish it. This is a good plan. This will get you enough words and you will be done. Alternatively, if you didn't want to add another body paragraph, all of this must appear in your conclusion, and your closing statement would look like this. So I do not have this. Now this is a little bit difficult, but your closing statement is going to be that I'm very happy you're considering me. I tell you what, to compensate for my absence, I'm going to do this and that, and explain the details. You're not going to do two things. You're going to do one thing, one solution, but you need to still give details of that. For instance, you're going to send him a birthday present and ask a mutual friend to hand deliver the present. You're going to also make a virtual call and talk to him personally and congratulate him. And also, you will, once you finish the exam, your IELTS exam, or any deals with authorities you had, or whatever, the reason you mentioned, immediately you're going to book a plane and travel to Australia to meet him in person. So give details, and make sure one of the details is a little bit about the arrangement that you are going to meet. I need this because I want to make sure we have enough words for our letter. Now this is a little compact scenario, but this also works. You will still have 3 paragraphs. There you go. You still have 3 paragraphs, but now you are more organized. Don't forget to write a valediction, and that's it. If you wish to see a sample on this, done and improved, click over here. If you wish to see other videos with a little green apple over here, and learn how to plan for your essays, letters, or reports, click over here. And remember, eat healthy.